Welcome to the FloridaDefense.com podcast. With over 30 years of strong defense and over 30 years of even stronger results, with FloridaDefense.com, you'll never believe you can't win.
All right, welcome to the Bauer, Kreider, and Perry podcast. We are speaking to Mike Kinney, a criminal defense attorney, Tampa area, FloridaDefense.com. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Very well.
Well, tell me a little bit, what should I look for in hiring a criminal defense lawyer in Florida?
Well, there's a few things that I think are important when you're trying to find the right lawyer for you. The first thing is you've got to be comfortable with the lawyer. You know, these people who find themselves involved with a criminal charge come in and talk to a lawyer, and they have to share, sometimes very uncomfortable, unfortunate circumstances. And you want it to be someone who you're comfortable explaining that with. You want it to be someone that you can have a conversation with, that you can have a dialogue with, because you're basically both in this together. You're both working together to achieve a common goal. So I think you got to be comfortable with the lawyer. I think what helps that confidence is that if you trust the lawyer, if you believe that the lawyer isn't just gonna tell you whatever it is you want to hear, but a lawyer who's going to kind of shoot it straight, give it to you straight, and tell you what certain expectations might be, and that helps in the comfort level, because you begin to understand what might be out there to be expected, what there is to expect. One of the first things that happens to folks when they get arrested is their world kind of just starts spinning, and their mind starts wondering, well, what's going to happen? Where am I going to go? What's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to me? And this moment where you meet a lawyer who can kind of step in there, and you have a comfort of him looking out for you and taking care of you, and you have a comfort that you can trust him, kind of helps that spinning stop. I'll say not altogether, but it stops to a degree. Now, as far as, that's kind of a personality side of it. But then you want to move into, well, who do you want to hire? You want to hire a guy who's going to get you the best possible result. And that's not always easy. That's not always easy to figure out by looking at somebody. I can assure you it's not easy to figure out by looking at somebody's website. Mm-hmm. The only real factors there are to go on as far as who can get you the best possible result, what I could say would be experience. And I would say skill itself. So those are two different areas. Experience is, has this lawyer handled a criminal case before? And not only has he handled a criminal case before, but has he or she handled a criminal case of this nature before, of this type? And, there are lawyers who practice all types of things out there. There are lawyers who do one-stop kind of shops for everything: contract law, family law, probate law. And, those are lawyers who are maybe not as experienced in one particular area of criminal law. I'm not saying they can't handle the case. I'm just saying that experience might be limited. And you want someone who, when they get involved in your case, is confident and comfortable with the area of law that he's pursuing. You want the lawyer to be up to date on any recent decisions on a particular area of the law that might affect you. And that's a lawyer who's experienced. And then skilled. You want a lawyer who has the ability that if he had to go in and fight for you, if he had to go in there and fight the government and do his very best to get a jury to acquit you of a crime, you want a lawyer that you believe and that has that ability to do that. Meaning, if it's possible, he can get it done. And one of the best indicators of a lawyer's experience and skill, I would say, comes from the Florida Bar. The Florida Bar does this special program where they allow lawyers to be tested, to be evaluated, and they allow lawyers to apply to become board-certified attorneys. And a board certification is the Florida Bar's highest evaluation of a lawyer's competence and professionalism. So if a lawyer can tell you that he's a board certified lawyer in a particular area, what that means is the Florida bar has basically evaluated him and determined that he has what it takes to be considered an expert. No other lawyer can say he's an expert. Even if a guy thinks he's really good, he can't say, I'm an expert at DUIs, if he's not a board-certified criminal trial lawyer. So although there are lawyers who are not board-certified who are just as capable or very capable, it's not always easy to see. You don't always see that when you first sit down and talk with someone. But what you can be certain of is that when you sit down and talk with a lawyer who's board certified, you can be certain that this is a lawyer who's passed extensive training, who's tried cases, who has passed an examination that determines that he is proficient in the particular area that you're looking to hire him in. So I'd say that's a good indicator if a lawyer is board certified. And finally, what you want is a lawyer who's familiar with the area. When I say the area, familiar with the jurisdiction that he's practicing. I'll be honest with you. I think I am a very good lawyer. I think I can try a case with the best of them, and probably if I went into a courtroom against a prosecutor or any prosecutor, I'd probably be one of the toughest ones the prosecutor faced. But I can also tell you that there is something to be said for a lawyer who is familiar with the judge, a lawyer who's familiar with the prosecutors and how things are handled. Lawyers who aren't familiar with the jurisdiction that they're practicing in might be caught off guard at times by certain local rules or certain ways things are handled, and that makes it a lot difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it makes it a lot more difficult for a lawyer to kind of get his head around. So he's got to work doubly hard to kind of get caught up to speed with a particular jurisdiction or location. You should ask your lawyer, do you practice there regularly? Do you know the agency that you're up against? Do you know the law enforcement officers, how things are typically handled with them? Do you have experience, trying a case with this judge? All that makes a difference. And that's why the location of the lawyer where he's practicing and maybe where he's going to be defending you is an important question to ask, whether or not he's been there before or not. Because if he hasn't been there before, it just might be a little bit more difficult for him to defend you as effectively as he could.
Can you say that one more time, or what kind of questions did you ask? You said, do you know the area, law enforcement in the area?
Yeah, the location. Yeah. Have you ever been to that courthouse before? Okay. Mm-hmm. Have you ever tried a case with this judge before? Have you had experience with these prosecutors? Do you know how they work? Do you know kind of what motivates them as far as wanting to resolve a case? Are they gung ho on every single case? Do you know what factors concern them? Do you know the law enforcement officers? Do you know the history that certain law enforcement officers have as far as their dealings with search and seizure issues? These are questions that you want someone to go in there and you want him to use every tool necessary to defend you. Sort of like a doctor. You might find the doctor is very, very skilled, but if you're going to give him a whole new set of tools to use to perform the same surgery he's always performed, he might have to take a minute to get his head around that. It's sort of the same thing with defending a case. When a lawyer is going into a courthouse, there's judges and prosecutors and law enforcement officers, all have different personalities. They can all create a different experience. And when you kind of know what to expect, and you kind of know what there is out there that's going to occur, it makes it that much easier for the lawyer to stay a step ahead of the game.
And makes that much easier for the client to feel comfortable as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So just kind of recap, number one, you said, being comfortable with your attorney, being able to trust them because you're giving very personal, intimate information. Sure. Because you've been caught in something. The second one was just results, experience, and skill, making sure that you're hiring someone that is experienced and they have the skill. I liked what you said about, some attorneys are kind of a one-stop. We practice all law.
Right.
And at Bauer, Crider, and Perry, you guys are criminal defense only, correct?
That's right.
And then, talked about getting the Florida Bar, board certification, where they've evaluated you as an expert. Did you say you had to try a certain amount of cases too in order to get into that?
Yes, there's a specific criteria that you have to establish before you can be certified by the Florida Bar as an expert. And the minimum requirements are that you have to have a certain amount of cases tried before you can even apply. You have to have a certain amount of continuing legal education performed before you can even apply. You have to pass a peer review, and a peer review is lawyers and judges who've either tried a case with you or been present with you on certain matters, explain to the bar what their impression is of you and your ability to be considered a board-certified criminal trial lawyer. And finally, you have to pass an examination. And the examination is designed specifically to test your focus, not your knowledge, of criminal law in general, but to show how proficient you are. Meaning, the stuff that some lawyers who are practicing lawyers, criminal lawyers, may not always know. You also can't even get the certification until you've been practicing law for at least 5 years.
Now, it's kind of a loaded question, but out of the 100,000 attorneys in the state of Florida, how many are board certified in what is it, criminal defense
trial?
Yeah.
In criminal trial law, there's under 400 out of 100,000. It's 385 or 387. I can't remember the exact number, but it's a very, very small number, and it's one of those things that I would say distinguishes a lawyer if he's able to hold that very rare certification.
And how many do you guys have at Bauer, Crider, and Perry?
Out of the 5 total lawyers we have, 4 are board certified in law.
So you guys are running a high percentage of that. So.
Yeah, I like to say the probably the most experts under one roof.
Yeah, and then lastly, the last thing you said was just being familiar with the area, the jurisdiction, the just where where the case is going to be tried. And
sure.
You guys kind of handle that within the firm pretty uniquely as well, right?
Well, we do. We all kind of come from a certain background where we're used to doing things. I was a prosecutor in Pasco County, Florida, so Pasco is a particular jurisdiction I'm very comfortable with. Pasco, Pinellas, Hillsborough County, and Hernando County. Those counties are all kind of very close together, so you tend to have a lot of crossover between lawyers and things like that, traveling to different areas and handling cases. So that's how that our firm covers those areas generally. We will occasionally travel outside. We'll go to other counties like Polk County and even further. But the further you get from kind of where you generally practice is one of those things that has to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. But you guys practice all over Florida?
We do.
All right. Anything else?
No, sir. I think that covers it. I can tell you that it's one of the biggest decisions a person is going to make when he hires his lawyer. And, when he hires his lawyer, nobody has a crystal ball, and he or she doesn't get to see what the outcome is going to be. A lot is based upon trust. A lot is based upon instinct when you make your decision to hire a lawyer. But I can tell you that if you kind of look for a lawyer you're comfortable with, a lawyer that you can trust, a lawyer who you believe is skilled in the area and not afraid to try a case, and a lawyer who's comfortable in the jurisdiction he's practicing, you've at least done a thorough enough job to find out if this lawyer is capable of protecting.
All right. Well, you've been listening to the Bauer, Crider, and Perry podcast, FloridaDefense.com. Never believe you can't win. We're talking to Mike Kinney at Bauer, Crider, and Perry, Tampa criminal defense attorneys.
Thank you for listening to the FloridaDefense.com podcast. Our firm has over 130 years of combined legal defense experience. Strong defense, stronger results. Consultations are free. Visit FloridaDefense.com today.